Hi everybody and welcome to SA Rugby Magazine Headlines for the weekend, headliners. Mark, good weekend of rugby.
Good weekend for you, I know you did well.
Yeah.
Better one for me, 5 out of 7.
I had 6 out of 7.
Got the Brumbies wrong, but was a last minute score, but then would have got the Stormers wrong as well, last minute score, so balances out.
Yeah.
Good for the Stormers, they still have the win, but I thought it was a very poor performance. 26-15, they should have shut that game down. Dobbo said the same thing, but an interesting tweet from him, or text from him after the game, which kind of reflected that face we saw on TV. He wasn't impressed with that performance.
No.
Impressed with the character, but I don't care what people say on social media, the insults they hurled at me at the weekend. That's a very young Lions side, close to Varsity Cup, with a sprinkling of veteran Springboks, some of them well past their sell-by date. If the Stormers are to win this competition and be strong enough to have to go away from home and win it, they need to be a lot better than we saw for a good 40-50 minutes of that game in Johannesburg.
Yeah, look, it's not easy to play 80 minutes, a full 80 minutes. And what I found, even my countryman, Jamie Roberts, a knock-on easy kick, which led to 7 points for a try for the Lions in terms of the scrum, forward pressure, and a try. Another knock-on while they were on attack. They were knocking the ball all over the place. And what it showed for me was how important a guy like Herschel Yankees is to that makeup. He sees the game 2-3 steps ahead, and has such good flair, attacking pace, and makes great decisions. They really missed Herschel on the weekend, I felt.
I agree with you totally. I mean, in his absence, you see just how much he's grown in the last 18 months as a player. The calmness. I also felt the way the game unfolded, it suited the Lions' helter-skelter approach to a T, where when we've seen the Stormers at their most effective was in that first 40 minutes against the Hurricanes, where they just played percentage rugby, they played clinically good rugby, and they relied on the defense. The moment that game got loose, the Stormers' defensive patterns became unstructured. They looked vulnerable, and credit to them for that last 2 minutes, because they were beaten by that Yankees penalty at 30-26. It was a game lost, a game blown. And I thought they were magnificent in scoring that. And Sergio Peterson, especially on the right wing, made some wonderful decisions, made extra ground to kind of keep that ball alive and to set up Ruanel for the try. They'll take the 4 points. Fantastic 3 from 3. Sets them up nicely for the Jaguars this weekend. But if you're looking in terms of putting down markers and context to a team, we've seen everything that can be good about the Stormers, but we've also seen enough in this last game, and at times against the Bulls, that not to be as cocksure about them. I just think they need to tighten a little bit and not be worried to play percentages. And
for me in the game, and one of the things that I thought that the Lions shouldn't have been in that game. It's almost as if the Stormers did wake up in the 79th minute and say, okay, this is what we're capable of. And that should have been the mistake-free rugby that we would have seen in the game. And I love Dylan Lates, but he made two terrible, the choices that he made, not kicking the ball back down. I mean, the Lions were happy to kick the ball down. They were down by 12 points, kicked the ball to the Stormers. And then Dylan took it into contact, and they've had 2 turnovers. It was crazy. He should have just put a high and up and under, and made the Lions make the mistakes, not the Stormers, which they did.
And Damian Willems, he's so talented. I mean, he's probably one of the most talented 10s in world rugby at the moment. But it's as if there has to be a 7-pointer with everything he does. Yeah. And the maturity in his game, and hopefully it will come with the season playing next to a Jamie Roberts when Herschel Yankees is fit at 9. He takes a lot of pressure off Damian Willems as well with decision making. But patience is as much a strength as just genius when it comes to attack. And Yankees in that aspect completely outplayed him because he was a lot calmer. I thought he really did well for the Lions this week, and he's had a poor start to the season. And it needs Damian to just calm it down in his brain a little bit and not try and prove that there's a try-scoring opportunity or a break with every time he touches the ball. His goal kicking has to improve in terms of percentages. But I also think he just needs to show a greater maturity in terms of where he plays the game and how he plays the game.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget it was a derby match, and those things. You can throw out some of the form guides and everything out the window in these derby matches. It was pretty bruising, physical. I'm not sure if anybody got injured, but it'd be nice to see some of these Stormers get back get back into the squad.
I think what was also, you talk derby element, but two of the players that really stood out for me was Manny Russ, the 21-year-old Lions centre who's a product of Paul Boys High. He was outstanding as a schoolboy, and he's gone into the under-21 system straight into Super Rugby. He looked very good. And then Jano Augustus. 4 years ago, he was the boy, world player under 20, seen as the next big thing, struggle with injury, struggle with form, struggle with the discipline of being a professional rugby player. It was great to see him get through a lot of work this weekend and finally at 22 start looking the part. So, and then Kitsoff's captaincy, and I just thought his general play was also very good. I really like him as a leader. I feel when he's given that responsibility, he's even better. So, yeah, good win, and they'll take it, but as Dobbo said, a nice reality check for their team as well.
Yeah, I'd rather win ugly than lose beautifully, you know. And I think Dobbo texted me back and said, it'd be nice to win beautifully for once. But the Sharks, let's chat about the Sharks. So you picked the Sharks this week.
I did. Kerwin Bosch, I thought would be key. I didn't realize at the time when we spoke that he was on his way home. His replacement, Buddha Chamberlain, lasted 20 minutes, and Pimpy, the go-to guy, lasted 25 minutes. Again, a very good game of rugby, and it took some wonderful attacking genius from the Hurricanes to differentiate it. Didn't feel it was a 16-point game.
No.
Also not a train smash for them to lose on the road one. They need to back it up, though, and hammer the Rebels, kind of restore that balance. But, yeah, it would have been nice to see a full-strength Shark side play them, because I still think they're better than this Hurricanes outfit.
Yeah, look, it didn't surprise me that they lost in Wellington. It was always going to be tough. Didn't matter how many players were or weren't injured, but their injuries didn't help. And you know, I remind some people on my site that you've got to also give credit to the team that won. I mean, I thought the Sharks looked great for 40 minutes. But if anybody that's gone over to New Zealand and realised what you deal with in terms of the jet lag, it's not easy to overcome that stuff. And people that have never done it, it's tough to be playing in those conditions. So that was always on top of my mind. But 40 minutes, the Sharks look good. You'd be an impressive brand of rugby.
And credit to the Hurricanes to come back from a 27-0 shutout in Cape Town, to win it the way they did in Buenos Aires, to travel back to New Zealand and to beat a very, very talented and exciting young Shark side. Also seeing there's some very interesting things that are coming out of the Sharks camp through the CEO, Edward Coetzee, and the culture that they're trying to develop. He says they do see colour. It's the only way when he talks about inclusivity, and that the only language they speak there now is English, and it's not a disrespect to the other languages, it's the one that bonds them. So there's lots of new movement and lots of new shape coming to the Shark side, and I really hope they do well. I like the brand of rugby they're playing. I love some of the young players that they've picked, and they must continue to invest in that. They maybe need one or two old silver foxes back from overseas to just kind of settle some things. But some wonderful signs in the opening 3 weeks from them.
Yeah, they're certainly going to, you know, they're a team that I'll be looking to stay away from a betting proposition for or against because of the way that they play. And yeah, it was good rugby they played. Unlucky to them.
Yeah, and then nice to see them. Nice to see the Stormers get the win. The Sharks still to look half decent. When I look at the international teams, typically Crusaders came back and smashed the Blues. It will be a long season for them. Chiefs got the kind of win that they wanted. So when we looked at last week and the first week, we know not much further apart from thinking it's a Stormers, Jaguars, potentially Sharks from down here. Nothing really from Australia. And you look at the Crusaders and Chiefs from New Zealand looking like the top sides at the moment.
Yeah, and we'll certainly cover a big game for the Stormers coming up, playing the Jaguars in terms of a conference game. We'll deal with that later in the week. But let's get on to Rassie's contract.
Yeah, so all the hoo-ha that RFU had approached him that he could be going there, we followed it up, found out that had it confirmed that it was a 4-year contract, not a 6-year contract. Chatted to Mark Alexander, who came in and said, semantics, I'll have it fixed this week. Rassie's agent and legal guy, Rassie Erasmus, confirming that they're underway. I got a text from Rassie this morning to say hopefully it'll be finalised by the end of the week, but he's going nowhere.
No.
It will be extended to 6 years, potentially even beyond, which I think is great news for South African rugby, great news for Rassie, and let's just get on with it.
Absolutely, and I think that Saru have dealt with it very well. You know, considering when you look at where they were with the Coetzee era, and they've really quashed any rumours and done well. Well done to Saru on a job.
Yeah, and great stuff from Mark Alexander when I phoned him and said, you know, what's your view? And he said emphatically, he's going nowhere. If there's a misconception or if something hasn't been signed, we'll get it signed, and he's going to stay. And he's not here just to help us beat the Lions. He's here to take us beyond 2023, hopefully defend the World Cup in France.
And the Box overseas, Mark, the Saffers overseas, good week for them.
Yeah, Eben, great try, Toulon back on the winning ways. Cheslin Colby, for me, the real star of the weekend. Played in a losing side, but played at 10 for Toulouse. Did the goal kicking. No end to the man's talents. Scrum half, fly half, wing, and fullback he can play. We hope and try and get him back for the Olympics in the sevens. Toulouse are saying hands off, and I agree with him. If I was paying his salary every weekend, I wouldn't want him going anywhere.
Well, I hope that he does play in the Olympics, but we'll see how that plays out. But thanks for coming in, Mark, and look forward to chatting about the upcoming rugby later in the week.
Thanks, Kev.